What is up, YouTubes? We got a new commander deck tech for you, Isshin, Two Heavens as One. We're starting with a budget build, but rest assured, I'll show some spicy upgrades for you if that's what you're more interested in. And a nice thing about building Isshin is there's always more when this creature attacks type effects printed. So don't see this deck getting stale ever. We'll go over the game plan, which includes the early, mid, and late game, showcasing what our ideal plays are in each phase of the game. Then I'll review the rest of the deck, fun cards to play as well, and of course end with those spicy upgrades. With Isshin, I think there's three primary ways to build this deck. One is Voltron, where we make him the solo samurai like you see kind of in Neon Dynasty Limited, where we have other creatures to pump him with Exalted and equipment he can wear to give us all the value on each attack. Then there's also go wide ankle biters and blow up our opponents with those attack triggers and ping down our opponent. Or there's the third option, which is kind of like Isshin control. But when I say control, it's not like counterspells. It's like controlling what our opponents do, which is ideally not attacking us and attacking the fellow players at the table. Starting down the third option path is nice too, because you're most likely able to build a deck with this game plan using cards that are already in your collection. Then once you play the deck, you can see what the strategy is that you like, and then fine-tune the deck in that direction. And remember, whether you want to buy the whole deck that I'm showcasing, or just a few cards, Card Kingdom has you covered. Use my affiliate link. It's a great way to let them know I sent you and to keep sponsoring content like this. So getting into our core game plan, in the early game, these are the early creatures we're hoping to start the game with. The deck does not lean into the samurai piece as much because there just isn't a lot there to be excited about currently. However, I do want to get some early pressure going and have a way to build out a board presence. I don't want to be obnoxious so that we're seen as the immediate threat, but if we can soften them up a bit so we can take them out in the final combat, that'd be nice. Goro is more about having the ability to give everything haste, although if we can create a 5/5, awesome. And we want to make sure we can protect Isshin. If our other threats command that removal, I view that as a necessary sacrifice to protect our fearless leader. Sorry, buddy. Token creators are helpful, and if we can get some solid equipment down to make every creature a threat too, I don't mind that either. Point is, in the early game, we're either ramping or playing out some good creatures but not great creatures, just trying to set the stage for our epic battle here soon. So as we transition to the mid-game, we're looking to get Isshin in play, but also have some protection for him. Creatures can do it for us, like Selfless Samurai, but we also have instants at the ready to defend against board wipes or targeted removal if absolutely necessary. Once Isshin's in play, the cool thing about Isshin is that he doubles all attacking triggers of permanents we control, not just creatures. So this includes enchantments and curses. This is where stuff gets really interesting, because now we can include other new cool commanders like Brina, who shows up and helps everyone draw cards and really pumps our board up. And players like to draw cards, so they're not going to be as concerned about that monster that's growing on your side of the board because they don't want to get rid of it, knowing that you're helping them draw cards. They'll still probably want to get rid of it once they realize that Isshin can deal lethal commander damage, but that is minor details. But that's also why we have those protection spells. If we can build up our board with creatures excited to start attacking, build up our defenses, get our opponents excited to hit each other, now we're setting ourselves up to be able to close the game out quick into the late game. And as we transition into the late game, this is where you'll find out if you made too many waves and now you have nothing left on your side of the table, or if you were able to navigate it well enough to where you got to keep some of your key synergy pieces. There's a middle ground where your opponents are growing suspicious. Even if you think they're not suspicious, they probably are. It'd be really weird if they weren't. And then as soon as you play something like Brutal Horde Chief or Hellrider or Drakuseth, they're going to realize, yeah, those are all really big problems, and we need to get rid of this person now. The way we don't let them have time to respond is by extra combats. So hopefully once we're into the late game, we've got a handful of tokens, we have Isshin out, and then we have literally any other creatures that are exciting to attack with. And if we do, that's the ideal setup. There's Godo, there's Ryu to help give us extra combats, there's Response to Resurgence, which are some of the budget extra combat spells. There's definitely more to see here in the upgrade section. Or you'll see this and just realize, oh, I have some of these extra combat spells that I could throw in here too. Or you could buy more from Card Kingdom, of course. But the point is, that turn is the game-winning turn. But there is a situation where you're only able to take out everyone but one other player. And maybe that player thinks they have you on the crackback. I just have to call out, Ink Shield is such an obnoxious card. No one ever suspects the black-white fog. For each point of damage stopped to you, you get a 2/1 flyer. Like it basically says, stop all damage, you win on the next combat unless your opponent saved a board wipe for everything they just committed to kill you in this combat. This card is, I don't understand how this card is not more expensive. You get the point. All right, let's just do a quick overview of everything in the deck. And yeah, I just love reviewing decks in this way. This is Isshin for the win, because we're swinging for the win. Our early plays, the focus is doing annoying things, just having some value, just poking, tick, 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 down at our opponent's life total, just to keep them on notice that we're doing some things, but we're not the threat. You know, there's way bigger things happening on the board. Our point, though, is to play creatures that help us build our board out, get some tokens down, and then we're going to turn these tokens into some serious threats. Brina, I just love the action she brings. Coastline Marauders, this is a card that people will sleep on too, but it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each land your opponents control. It just gets huge in the late game. We got the Hanweir Garrison, we got the land, so we can turn this 7/4 thing, creating 4 3/2 attacking tokens. Like, it's annoying, right? But we're just building our board out. We're finding ways to make our opponents think, oh, they're like doing stuff. And then when Brutal Horde Chief or Hell Rider come down, now we're really hitting for some serious damage. Thundering Raiju, these are just fun cards that you've probably had to play maybe in a draft or something and didn't have a home for. Now we got a home for them with Isshin. Winota, card I had just kind of hanging around from the Ikoria days. Adriana, this is a card I like that I really never got to play with, and in this deck is kind of a win con. If you've gone wide, now she gives all of your creatures melee, which with Isshin essentially gives them +6/+6. Quick way to just be able to close out a game, or at least put all your opponents on notice. Ankle Shanker, easily my favorite named card in the deck. It's a 2/2 with haste. When it attacks, all your creatures get first strike and death touch. So if we can do double combats, Ankle Shanker basically says, swing, all your blockers die, swing again, you die. So like, that's helpful for us. Kazakar, love to goad our opponents. We want to keep them attacking, want to make it harder for them to find blockers with Urabrask, Atali. You've seen it. You've seen Atali before. Drakuseth has my name in it, so of course I have to play it in the deck. And then one of my favorite lesser known cards that helps you build your board out, Launch the Fleet. You get to strive it, target a few things, then you attack. And when you attack, you get to put a 1/1 white soldier token, or in this case 2, tapped and attacking. So in the mid game, this is a nice way to build the board out in a rather sudden way. And then if you think your opponent might wipe the board, you just keep up mana for Boros Charm or something like Root Board Defense. Or if your opponent's trying to match your go wide strategy, nope, Rakdos Charm. Oh, you have 12 points of life left and 13 creatures? How convenient. I have a Rakdos Charm, and you get to start scooping up all your cards. Gotta have some board wipes just to keep everything even keel in case someone does get ahead of us. Snapdax, Austere Command, Farewell. Just good options. One of the more expensive cards in the deck, Skull Clamp. This is one of our best card draw options. You don't usually have a ton of good card draw in Mardu. Skull Clamp's a great way to use our tokens or just find a way to keep beating up on our opponent. We got the Signets, we got the ramping effects. Seraphic Greatsword, a card I wasn't stoked to open in a box, but now it has a good home in this deck. And then, this is a budget build, but as we jump down to the enchantments, a huge amount is chewed up by Fervent Charge. I had no idea how expensive this card had gotten. It's kind of obnoxious. I think it's going to come down because I just don't think it's not worth $20+. I'll tell you that. I just happen to have one, so that's why I'm playing it. But I love the curses. It doubles the effect, which further incentivizes our opponents to keep attacking each other. As we attack, as our opponents attack, it's just furthering our game plan. Everything that usually happens in a game of Magic helps Isshin eventually get in for the win. And then the lands, pretty straightforward. I think you kind of get it. Are you going to dump money into lands? Maybe, maybe not. Or you just realize, oh, I opened some of these new rares. I think I'll find a home for them in this deck. But if you do want to look for upgrades, well, let's check those out. Let's start with the creatures. We got stuff like Esper Sentinel. I mean, it's just a push card. It provides card draw, blah, blah, blah. You need these cards in just about every white deck, but you may not want to spend 25 bucks on it. I don't blame you. Aurelia the War Leader, more combat steps equals great value with Isshin. So yeah, pretty simple. Include if you can swing it. Speaking of swinging, Combat Celebrant, another one that's great for more combats. I always like Aroas, got a victory in any Boros deck like this. He makes attacking in just that much safer for us and that much more terrifying for your opponents. Some spicier plays, Xancha, sneaky combat initiator and all-around chaotic card that everyone loves to see their opponent have. Not them have, of course, their opponent. And it's just a good card to have in play. Hero of Bladehold is awesome if we want to lean more into the go wide game plan. Kroxa, another good card you may just have sitting around looking for a home for it, or you built the Kroxa discard deck, you didn't like it. Throw him in Isshin, and then your opponents will be questioning why they let you in the play group. But the point is, he's a really good card in this deck. We got non-creature upgrades, Curse of Opulence. You get 2 gold tokens now. I mean, really any of the curses could be fun upgrades depending on what game plan you're going into. Aggravated Assault is, I mean, it's really good. It's expensive, but you can see the theme here. More combats. This is where we can spend some money, get a ton of synergy for this deck. World at War, Waves of Aggression, more multicolored combat spells that go perfectly in this build. And then for artifacts, we can do the infinite loop with Helm of the Host and Godo. It's not my style. If it were me, I'd probably only play one or the other, but hey, do you. Blade of Selves, another value town engine. Oathkeeper is probably the most flavorful play we could have in the deck, in case that's a higher consideration for you, or just simpler stuff like Lightning Greaves. More protection, always good and appreciated by our Samurai Commander. And then finally for land, I would just say dump maybe $1,000, buy the dual lands, because like who needs to eat for a month anyway, right? And that's going to do it for me, folks. This deck is a lot more fun than I initially thought it'd be. It's a lot more flexible than I anticipated. And what's really cool is it's constantly going to have new options to put in the deck. The deck list is in the description if you want a quick way to find a way to buy all these cards from Card Kingdom. And just thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons for being awesome, for always helping me keep doing this thing as well. It is much appreciated. You guys are the best. We'll see you in the next video, my friends. Take it easy. Peace.